Welcome to this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. We pull back the curtain of all cool things automotive and this amazing culture that we have surrounding some of these phenomenal automobiles. I'm Mike Kinney. Do me a personal favor. Reach out on YouTube and share and like and subscribe. Hit the bell. You know the drill. This week, get ready. We have this amazing museum in Tustin, California. It is the Marconi Automotive Museum and Foundation for Kids. We have the co-founder that's going to be with us today. It's John Marconi. And John's been at this quite a while. We're going to be talking about more of him in a minute. But you've heard me say it before, and I still say it because I think I kind of like it, and I know it works. That picture being worth 1,000 words, check out this video. Rick, hit the play button, buddy. Wow. Every time I watch that video, I says, man, I want to stop what I'm doing and go to that museum. Well, we talked about our featured guest today is John Marconi. He started his racing career at a young age. At 6 years old, he got into racing. So he's been at this most of his life. So John, welcome aboard, and it's great to have you on the show, brother. How you doing today?
Michael, how are you?
We are enjoying life, man. And for the viewers, as I like to do a Zoom call whenever I can with my featured guest in advance. And I think about the second time we started chalking on Zoom, I came back downstairs from the office. Mary goes, do you realize you were talking to that guy for about an hour and a half? I said, well, yeah.
Brother from another mother.
Brother from another mother went, oh, we got the same hair color, and we're both slightly wacko. So if we deviate from what the run of show today, do not, I repeat, do not be surprised. We have lots of pictures. I want to thank you guys for all the information you shared with us. And before we jump into that, I want to touch upon a phrase I learned from you guys: learn, earn, and return. So how did you guys come up with that, and why is it so important to you?
My dad.
Okay.
When I was a kid, we were, it was interesting, at 6 years old, actually 1959, moved to California. I was 18 months old. And 6 or 8 years old, I think it was the first time we got a chance to do some charity work. And that's where the philanthropy started. My dad's learn, earn, and return cycle. He said, you work your butt off all your life, you do good, you help people all the way through, give, and it will always come back. But, you spend the first part of your life learning, the second part of your life, you're learning and earning. And then, it's important to return. A lot of people just get sedentary and just sit down and do the thing and retire. The family has never done that. I mean, my dad's 88 years old now, and he's still doing it. And so this is what we do. We return. And it's the future. The future is 100% of our, the kids are 100% of our future.
Absolutely.
So,
and I think that led to your dad, and now you've got kind of the reins, so to speak, of this foundation for kids, right, buddy?
I'm second generation. My daughter Monique is CEO. She's third generation,
cool.
And she runs the operation. And yes, it's a family affair.
Excellent. So all our viewers, get ready, because everybody goes, Mike, what's going on at the museum? What's the property look like? Well, Rick, I think we got a few pics we can show, and we'll kind of walk through these. And this is kind of what you see when you pull up front, right?
Yeah, that's that. Well, most of the cars aren't out at that time, and we don't put them outside unless it's a special event.
Sure.
But the new signage has gone up, and yes, this is what you see. That's the building.
Wow. So we got a few more we can step through, get another shot of those. And we kind of do a little segue here. I think you guys have one of the largest Ferrari collections in the world, or the United States, or something.
Well, it's pretty extensive. Yeah, we've got a rather large collection, which you can kind of see over the background.
Yeah. And what an entrance, right? So naturally you got to have the red carpet, and you're on each side, the doors are being held open, so to speak, by a couple of really cool cars.
Well, they called those Montezemolo period cars doorstops, and we got to use them for something.
Now you also have, I got to look at my notes. I think it's called Premier Auto Housing, that you can store cars for other people.
Yeah, what happens is we've had a lot of people come in and ask us, said, well, how can we be part of the museum? And I said, well, if you'd like to store your cars here, is a nominal fee. You store your cars here, we take care of them. We've got a zero dust environment, continuous positive air displacement. It's all climate controlled. Yeah, so the cars are very well maintained. It depends on how crazy you want to get. We can run them, operate them, with the heat cycles, once a month or whatever the customer chooses. But this is just some of the storage, some of the area, and that's all. It becomes part of the display. We're a small museum. You can't go out and buy $2 and $3 million cars. So we've got a lot of that in here. So what happens is the inventory changes all the time. You never can tell who's going to be here. We launch it on social, said, look what's here, come see this. Beautiful. The Aventador, with the Gulf livery, and we push it, and it brings people in the front door in the traffic, like the Bugatti. It belongs to, both those cars belong to a friend of ours. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think we kind of recognize this guy that's going to be, he looks really happy with that hot rod. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, that's an FX. It's one of one in the world that's outside the Sultan's collection. And that's my dad. Yeah. And I tell you what, that was taken 20 years ago. And what pisses me off is he still looks that good. And I when we go into a place, they look at us and they go, hey, are you guys brothers? And I go, either he looks really good or I look really bad. So we're 20 years apart, but he's a stud, no doubt about it.
God love, and I think we got one more. Okay, now, for the viewers, this is a piece of artwork. It's entitled Bumpers, and if I understand correctly, John, it was built out of just a whole bunch of car bumpers.
My dad was in Detroit, and he saw there was a model of this almost identical, and it was 3 times the size in Detroit. So he fell in love with it, found out who the artist was, and said, look, I want to build one for our museum when we started the foundation. And so they built it, and, you can't build them now because none of the cars have steel bumpers anymore. It's all plastic.
Yeah, right.
So the bottom line is that is Bumpers. It's the center of our logo, and that's been our mascot since we turned it from our race shop to the Marconi Foundation for Kids and the Automotive Museum.
That is just so cool. And you talk about being the king of Segway. Talk about racing, and we've heard a little bit about it. We got a few shots of that. I think we got a cool video as well. This is what we might have pulling up here. So that looks like Senior kind of getting it on. So is that one of the motorcycles you like to play with, or is he just showing off?
That's his 900 is Ducati. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And Ducatis, by definition, those are zippy motorcycles.
Yeah, we've probably got, I think we've got almost 40 motorcycles in the collection, 45 motorcycles collection, and the big percentage of them are Italian and Ducatis. We obviously, with the last name, we're big on Italian stuff.
We kind of figured out, and this is you guys out there on the track getting it, as my granddaddy would say.
Yeah, that's we won the 348 Ferrari Challenge, the first inaugural U.S. championship. That's yours truly behind the wheel.
Very cool.
And then we went on to take second in the World Championships in Mugello, Italy, and then we won first in the World Time Trials over in Italy, behind in the Ferrari factory track.
Wow, very, very cool. And you can't do this without a crew, right?
I'll tell you what, you think you're the sole Aaron, you're not. Without a crew, you're nothing. I mean, you really, you got a car, but without that support, you're done.
Exactly. And I think we've got a video coming up for the viewers to give you an idea how cool his dad is. Just watch this clip. This is too fun.
I could have stayed home and made $15,000 an hour, instead of coming out here and spend 50. I've gone through 3 engines and 3 races.
Don't just give up trying to get right there.
They have that same saying in England that if you want to make a small fortune in motor racing, start with a large one.
Yeah.
I get lost a lot out there, man. That old joke about the Italian IndyCar driver, he had to make 3 pit stops, 2 for gas and 1 for directions. That was me.
just you gotta love this guy because, like you said, he's going through all this money and he's just trying to figure out what's going to work, not work, and then he has to make a joke about it too. So you kind of you're growing up with a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he's definitely an icon, no doubt about it. That was over at PIR. That was my backup car. So we ran for him in Atlantic.
Right.
And I said, Dad, get in the car. He says, no. I said, get in the car. So he found out his calling late. It was kind of flipped. I got him into racing. He didn't get me into racing. So that's one of those things that you go, whoa, wait a minute. But once we found out he had the skills, I mean, he hung it out a lot, and he went to a lot of motors because he didn't believe in red line. He said the red line is where the power starts. So with the power starts, he gobbled a few motors. I said, Dad, can't you feel it at 9,000 RPM, 9,600, it starts falling off?
Yeah,
I said, no, it wasn't falling off. It's making more power.
I've had that discussion with some of my buddies. I said, if you shouldn't feel the car, it starts to nose over a little bit because sooner or later, as the RPM continues to go up, the torque starts to go down. No, I know it's making more power. And I went, okay.
You're spun. At that point, you're spun out.
You're spun out. We've got to touch on a couple of things. We got some great pictures coming up, the collection, all that. Your charity work, I know, is very important to you guys as well. Now, in your collection, as I understand it, you have an F40 and an F50 Ferrari.
Yeah, Dad,
Wow.
or Vincent, my oldest, is a master Ferrari mechanic. He's been under tutelage of the two of the best guys in the world, production Ferrari and then restorer Bill Joyko. And he's, matter of fact, behind me in the race shop, just pulled the heads off that black race car. I think you got some clips of it in there. But he pulled the heads off of that. It hasn't had a major in quite a while, so we're doing a major on it. And
Wow.
It's impressive.
I love this shot, and then you see right there kind of the marquee, if you will, by Foundation for Kids, and you're thanking all the people who stopped by, being able to what they're doing in turn supports the foundation. That's just a pretty cool shot, man.
Yeah, it is neat. That was Dad's idea. He put that up there years ago, and that's what we live by.
Absolutely correct. And I love a museum, so we're starting to run out of floor space. Well, let's just put some mini cars on the wall. I mean,
hanging on the wall. We called it art. Yeah, it's art. And those all have the bullets in them. Those are not. We didn't pull the motors or any transmissions, gearboxes, nothing. Those are full cars. You pull those off, add oil, throw a battery in it, and look out.
Well, that
we'll
way,
have to change the valve train.
Yeah, if you get an itch on a weekend, say, well, let's just pop that one off the wall and take it around the block. Wow.
Yeah, those are bolted. Those are safety cables, but they're also bolted through the wall. That's that's tilt-up concrete.
Yeah, you bet. And anybody's into Mopars, right? The General Lee it made a lot of history. And there's Mopar people who go crazy. They talk about a number of them they wrecked when they made the movies. But to me, it's just such an iconic car, right?
It is. The 68 and 69 to me was the epitome, and then the Hemi Cudas, which of course are the Cudas. Yeah. But that's the real deal. The movie cars you will see are the real deal here. That was the promotional car for the original show.
Really?
And they did. You're right. Can you imagine wrecking 370 of those? Now you and I are restorers and preservation guys, and most of the people watching this get it. But I mean, we love to watch the movie, but as we've gotten older, you take a look at the gene pool or the aggregate amount of cars that are out there. You take 370 out of that gene pool that could have been restored in a lifetime. They're all gone. They will never come back. So this one has Daisy's signature on it. All the cast is on the rear trunk lid. It's all done. It is the real deal. Yeah.
Hey, Rick, pull us back up on screen together real quick because I got to see John's reactions. So Rick Manny, he's the wizard in the control room, Rigel Studios. His daughter's now getting into hot rods. She's figured out her car, right? Are you ready? I'm glad you're sitting down, John. 69.
It isn't a Pacer, is it?
It's a 69 Charger.
Well done. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, he says a Pacer might be easier for her to get into.
No, well, I'll tell you what, that Pacer, here's the crazy part. I'm restoring a 76 Ford van I bought new in 76.
Yeah.
We've restored Heavy Cudas, and I mean, half the stuff in here we've done restorations on.
Cool.
You can't get parts for a Pacer.
What?
I mean, you can't get parts for a Pacer, a Ford van, my 76 van. You can't get parts. I had to buy 3 vans, for $400 or $500 off the side of people's garages that are sitting there on all 4 wheels in the dirt. To find parts because they all got crushed. The Pacers, nobody wanted them. You try to
so
restore a Pacer now, and good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the 68, 69s, they're building parts for them. The NOFs, there's still some NOS stuff, and the majority is repop, but it's good stuff.
But it's good stuff. Pink, good stuff. I think we got a few more pictures inside the museum.
Oh.
Hello. What? Okay. Certain cars look at, 300 mile an hour sitting still, and that's a great shot. I love the wet floor look. Woo, walk us through this one, man.
That is an XJ220. There's 106 built in the world. Those are the race cars that they raced. And the biggest problem they had, they burnt most of them down. The turbo and the fuel lines were too close. So until they got that sorted out, you saw, they look like the guys out there with the Lamborghinis when they slap the rev limiters until they blow up in the back of it, catches on fire, which you've seen a lot on YouTube. But that's what happened with these cars. So there's only a handful left. This is one of the original 6 that were built in primary colors. This was the red one, obviously, and then they have a black one, a yellow, and a blue one, and it was it's impressive. But that's the real deal. And how it got the 220 on it, it goes 220 miles an hour. You wouldn't recognize it. If you pull the body off or sight down, when you get over here, you look down the back. It's got underwings on it. It looks like an Indy car somebody put a body on.
Really?
And it's got a 6-cylinder twin turbo, but it looks like an Indy car. There's big tunnels, real lightweight upper and lower control arms. They're all aerodynamically where they penetrate through the tunnel underneath. That thing doesn't look like it creates a lot of downforce, but the bottom of that thing is a vacuum.
Wow.
At about 180 miles an hour, you could drive that thing upside down. It would stick to the ceiling. It generates more downforce than it weighs.
Really?
Like an Indy car or a Formula One car.
And for the viewers, that you want to have that downforce. I think we might have another picture coming up. If you do not recognize this, viewers, I'm not sure where you've lived for the last few years. To me, this is one of the. There's been a bunch of Batmobiles. I'm trying to figure out the right phrase for you here. This one just looks kind of mean, right? Kind of stealthy, and this definitely over the top and very, very cool.
It's one of the Batmobiles still look like a hot rod or a car, and now they look the new Batmobile. You see it looks like a tank, and which is kind of cool. But this is the original. This is the real deal. This is not a replica. This is the one that blows the flames out of the backs, and it's the one Keaton drove. And that was what 30 years ago that the Keaton when he started that.
Wow.
But that's got the blower out the back, and it's not a jet engine. It's got a couple of blowers in it with silicone tube going into it, and you flick on the blowers. And then there's JP4, JP5. You inject in it, you turn on the igniters, and in that sequence, then you hit the JP5, and it atomizes it. When it atomizes, it blows out the back. So the combustion chamber is not like a jet engine where it compresses it.
Sure.
This is just open. It's about a foot and a half. The combustion chamber in the back portion is a foot. So it can't overload itself. So it'll just go whoosh. But it blows the flames out the back, and then you add a little mix of a jet engine when it drives by, and it's impressive. That's the real deal. That's an Impala. It's an Impala that they cut it in half, and then what they did is they added 18 inches or 19 inches.
Really?
And that's what you see. That's what you see today. It's got a 350 in it.
So if you guys are going to have like a weenie roast, or you want to do some marshmallows, you got the car.
Yeah, we'll fire that baby up and roast some hot dogs. Yeah, maybe some few carcinogens in your hot dog, but you'll get it down.
It's just roughage.
No, it's nothing we haven't done before, you and I.
And I think we got a video of you truly getting it on the track. We can kind of talk about this. I think Rick can kind of pull this up. You're working that hot rod pretty good there, bud.
If you're, we were tail wagging it all the way through. If you're familiar with that track, that is the most iconic set of turns. That's an 11-story drop from the top. That's the corkscrew.
What?
And that's at Laguna Seca. And the screw is it's an amazing. It's one of those things. As you look into it, you come off the top of the corkscrew. You got driver's right, and you're hitting it pretty hard. You rotate the car. You hit the gators on the outside. You line up on the gators on the inside, the left-hand side. And then what happens is you stomp it to the floor. You come off the top, but when you come off the top, you align yourself. There's an oak tree that's got a gnarl in it. And that oak tree, as soon as you make that left-hander, you're looking off into space, and there's this oak tree on the other side of the hill. You line up on that, bash it to the floor. It drops 11 stories,
Oh my
drops down. The car gets light. You're right there. You rotate the car to the
Wow.
right. You go way out to driver's left, and you
Wow.
tuck it way back driver's right. And then it's got a real deep bank turn on that left-hander from where you see the car going out of sight to
Yeah.
where the car is coming into the turn, 11 stories.
Wow. So
Yeah, and it's just you can't see crap. You step on the throttle off of that, and if there's somebody down there racked up, you're a dog pile.
so that's got to be an e-ticket ride in 3/4, right?
And most of the people without gray hair don't remember. You got to explain what an e-ticket was, okay? You and I
point.
both know what
Good
e-ticket is,
point.
isn't it? You got to explain an e-ticket.
Yeah, gonna have to kind of walk it through them, and also for the viewers, because there's some museums that I've attended, I'm sure we all have, and they're more kind of static, if you will, and you walk through and you see the cool museum. Well, these guys, they've kind of taken a whole new level with some of their events. I think we got a few pics of those as well. So
yeah, go ahead.
This is a great shot. So you got a whole bunch of people showing up to say howdy.
Yeah, that's one of our supercar events, and you're looking down there, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's $100 million worth of cars in the parking lot, not to mention the 60 mil that's inside and the building. So we do this on a regular basis. How we generate money for children's charities, and like you were saying, that children are 100% of our future. Us old farts, you and I, we've done our damage. We've screwed up the government. We've screwed up the planet. And we've dropped this bomb in the middle of their lives, and they're going to have to unscrew what we've left. And so with kids, that's what we do, is just to help them. That's where these events come into play. So we'll have these cars and coffee events. We charge $10 for, come on in and a cup of coffee and a donut.
Beautiful.
And we do this. But we can only do this on certain segments and certain times, because my daughter, she runs the operate in the museum. We have today, we have an event today going on behind me that's going to happen, and that's for 80 people. We got another one for 300 on Saturday, and the Porsche Club comes in for 250 on Sunday. And between now and Christmas, we're slammed, and that's how we generate money for kids. And this is the way we do it: bring the car culture to the people, and use that as a driver to make money for kids.
I love them. You got to. Excuse me. Now, if I'm going to an event and I walk into this property, I'm just pretty much going to stop dead in my tracks. My jaw's going to hit the floor and say, yeah, I'm in the right spot for a really nice gala.
The thing is that if you take a look at most of the charity work and most of the fundraising is done by women, and they're very, very good at it. Men, we come along for the ride. And what happens here is, with the cars, if you've got, you and I still have a little testosterone left in our bodies.
Yep.
So if there's any testosterone in it at all, it will drive you, we're going to go to the Marconi and look at all these cars. It brings you to the event. And that's part of the strategy my dad came up with years ago.
Absolutely. I think we got a couple more shots. Whoa. And you got a bar. I mean, what an iconic shot. You're just hanging out with all these cars. You're raising money. You're got a great time at a gala. And this is kind of like a win-win all the way around, brother.
Yeah, that is a hand-built. The car you see on 160, what is it, 164?
Yes, sir.
On the right-hand side, that's a 195S Ferrari, and that we just had it appraised out yesterday. As a matter of fact, $6.8 million. So I mean, you're right there where you can, we don't want you to touch the cars, but you're right there. They're not roped off. And you were talking about before, the point you made. We're interactive. I mean, you look at our social and our IG or Instagram. You'll see Vincent back there working on the cars. We post 3 times a week. All the events we're doing, we just had Cars and Comedy here with a bunch of comedians. We got another one coming up. So this is some of the things we do. I mean, is that beautiful?
Out of everything you sent me, because the wife's walking by and I got this big 32-inch monitor as we're kind of laying out stuff for Run a Show.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, and both of us just went, wow. I mean, this is a absolutely stunning photo all the way around.
I mean, you've got 3 10s here. That's a 30. You've got 10 for the young lady that's sitting in the car. You got a 10 for the Lamborghini that's being there, and the photographer.
Yes.
I mean, the layout of his composition is phenomenal.
That's just off the hook, as we had saying. Before we get out of here, okay, we got to run some numbers. Look at my notes. I think you guys, you hit around about $1 million a year for the charities of Orange County. Is that kind of sort of?
Yes. Prior to COVID, we were almost $1 million. That's our mission, our goal.
Cool.
Prior to COVID, my dad's wife, Bo, ran it, and she did a very, very good job. Her and her staff were amazing. Now what's happened is, with COVID, we were shut down for almost 2 years. Yeah. So we're still licking our wounds, recovering, and coming back with a vengeance. We brought in huge social. We're live. In this interactive museum, you can walk in the back. Anytime you come in, there's somebody working on a car. You can sit and talk to them about what's happening. There are people here that know the cars and the vehicles. So this is not your average museum. It's got to be what we call UMD, unique marginal difference. What makes us different from everybody else? I mean, you and I are. I mean, look at these faces. We're pretty freaking unique. Okay, it is.
Yeah.
But
I've been called something other than that, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, we'll keep that. You and I'll have a beer over that.
That'll do it.
But UMD, unique marginal difference. What makes us different? Well, there's no ropes in this building. I mean, just none.
Cool.
We just expect you, please be courteous. They said, why can't I touch the car? And I said, well, if 500 people over a year touch that portion of the car, I got to wipe it down. No matter what you do or wax you put on it, you're still going to take paint off, and the patina looks good, but you don't want it on a new Ferrari.
This is soon, and I know how important charity is to you guys. And viewers, check out some of these. Now, I've heard of toy runs, but this is kind of looks like you're going to fill a race. Well, you're hauler with it. I mean, that's really cool.
We did, and that went to Shriners. There's a young man by the name of Sebastian. Sebastian is the most caring, giving young kid I've ever met, and he's 13 now. He's got a very, very nasty disease. It's a brittle bone disease.
Yeah.
So I think he's broken over 100 bones in his body, and he's 13. But Sebastian helped us drive this thing to fruition. And it's like beyond blindness. We were real proud of this. That isn't a lot of money, but we were able to do it the first year back in business. So my daughter is in the center, my wife, Timmy, and Michelle, and then the people from Beyond Blindness and the old fart on the left-hand side, of course. But this was a milestone for us. First year out of the box. We took it over last year, the beginning of last year. And my daughter, myself, and Vincent, and the family, and my wife, and the immediate family, and the distant family. And that's a huge number for us to be able to put this thing all together and make it happen first year back. And because we were at ground zero. I mean, bank account, the routine.
Yep.
Weathering the storm over 2 years of COVID.
Yes, sir. And before we move off that picture, back up real quick, Rick, if you can. And as I recall when I was on big screen, I think that check's for $50,000.
Yeah.
So
that's $50K.
Okay, so I offer for your consideration, sir. To me, that's a whole bunch of money.
It is, but it's not close. It's not even close to what we want to do.
Yes,
you know
sir.
me well enough now. I know doesn't exist in my vocabulary. Can't doesn't happen, and try is an early admission to defeat.
Yes, sir.
You don't try, you get it done. So
you get it done.
That's what we do.
Speaking of getting done, we got one more shot of the charity work you're doing. You get law enforcement's there with you, and the way you guys are partnering with your community is just nothing short of stunning.
That's Officer Oliveira. He's a great guy. That trailer, we filled, by the way, that trailer. We went up to Shriners with it with Sebastian and a whole bunch of Lamborghinis and everything. We got there. They could not take all the toys. So we started going around to the different fire departments, because fire departments always have families they're taking care of. They're doing something. So we just started dropping off toys at all the fire departments. So the bottom line is that trailer didn't do it. So we got a bigger trailer. So this next year, it's 24 foot long. It's a car trailer, so we can move the cars to and from service area and things we need to do. But we use that trailer for a toy drive, and this year's toy drive is going to be immense. It's going to be
absolutely
crazy.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Well, how do people get a hold of you? That's always important. Website. I think we've got some information we can pop on the screen for the viewers. If you can walk us through that.
Absolutely. Marconi Automotive Museum Foundation for Kids. Like I said, it's www.marconimuseum.org. And then info@Marconi Museum. You can find out. You can talk to Monique or Sid, the gang here. Nick does all of our PR and advertising. So you get a hold of anybody here. We can set up an event, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, weddings. We have Celebration of Life, which, as you and I know, we're both getting older. We had like 8 of those this year, and
wow.
one of those things that
God bless.
it's really a neat event, but it's sad that we're losing a lot of people in the car industry, and with the
Unfortunately.
new electric car and all the stuff in the history. But it's a neat deal. But you name it, birthday parties, anything you could possibly imagine, a lot of corporate work. Like I said, all
Right.
these coming in over this next 3 days are all corporate.
Excellent. Well, John, we can't thank you enough for being on the show, and all the viewers. You got to check out these guys and see everything they got going on. You might be close by, and you could do a Cars or Coffee, or even join them for a big gala. John, until we hook up next time, man, have a great weekend, and thank you so much, and God bless.
Take care, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. I want to thank John Marconi, the Marconi Automotive Museum and Foundation for Kids. That whole learn, earn, and return is personified in what goes on with it, with this amazing museum and the family that's carrying on the tradition. And until next time, you ought to know the drill by now. Enjoy the drive.